This is episode 12 of Tim Talks podcast. And yes, I am recording this on my phone. I don't know what the sound is like on this, but yeah, I guess I'm just going to be recording this on my phone and then upload it. So yeah, I'm literally lying in bed here doing this. So it's going to be a more laid back episode, literally. But without further ado, let's get into this one. So today I was like, what should I talk about on this episode? And I was thinking, what could I talk about here? So, yeah, I guess I'm just going to fly right into it. Probably talk about some sort of... I did an episode on drink and sort of touched on other stuff, but I'll say I'll expand on that and I'll do more sort of drinking stuff. So, the last one I'm mainly touched on beer. This one I'll touch on sort of spirits and stuff. So without further ado, the first one I'll get into, which I think most people are very familiar with, is Smirnoff vodka. That is a very popular, stuff to drink. Obviously, it's just a fairly good price, but like pretty premium vodka. Obviously, very popular with young people because you can stick it in naggin, which is basically like a 35 cl bottle, little bottle you can nearly fit in anywhere. Popular for sneaking in, and there's also the big 70 cl, which you probably would split with someone else. And for some reason, Coke is the pairing with that. Yeah, it's not the best one to drink, but again, I've probably tried it a few times. Not really a big fan, to be honest. Probably tried it a few times with this one because it just is the way it is. It's very strong. Yeah, it's dodgy in a way, but yeah, I definitely would say that one of the dodgier ones to drink, but yeah, that one always pops up from time to time. And when someone's walking around with a big bottle of Coke and an eye out, you'd pretty much know they're drinking vodka. So yeah, definitely wouldn't be one I'd rate that much. It would be very low down there if I were to rate it. Might be a 4 or 5 out of 10, but obviously price wise it's pretty good. That kind of stops it from being horrible. Do you know what I mean? So there you go. Next up we have, trying to think what else I could do. Let's see, we have tequila. Tequila's ones I tried recently, the Jose Cuervo one. I would say I'm not a big fan of it. You do have to master that taste quite a lot. It's a very distinctive taste. I really am a fan of the taste of it. Things you'll be mixing with will be, well, I tried this recently with Corona, and also Desperados and orange, and I believe it's supposed to be grenadine, but I tried with pomegranate juice, so I tried that and it looks cool. It's this weird like mix that happens in the bottle, so it's really more fun to make the actual thing. But yeah, I definitely wouldn't say it's the best to drink, but after a while you don't really care, I suppose. It is very strong, especially with the Desperados, so you get very drunk on this one. So it's one of those ones that, be careful when you're drinking it, definitely. So, yeah, I mean, it looks nice, that's the thing about it, it looks nice. But yeah, I don't really see people doing this too often. Maybe during summer I could see this happen, but hey, yeah, I definitely got very drunk the other day with it, and it's like a lot different than being drunk on beer, isn't it? Because it just sort of hits you, and it's a very head drunk where it's just, yeah, fast. And I suppose when you compare weed to edibles, like weed is probably more like the spirits end of things where it just sort of hits you, while edibles just sort of slowly comes onto you like beer. That would be my comparison anyways. So move on next. If we have any more spirits to think of, like, I don't really want to touch too many of them. I suppose the one that you get in the club a lot would be the Jägermeister, which actually, isn't too bad. Usually quite expensive though, but it's a nice taste off it. Shots of that would be quite good. I like the bottle as well. It's a very nice bottle, so give the thumbs up to that. But yeah, it's definitely probably more of an expensive one, and it wouldn't be the typical like night out one, or if you're a young lad, it would be more in pubs, clubs, I would think. So I wouldn't have too much to say about that one. Trying to think of another one. Suppose there's Jameson. Never really tried that one. Looks expensive. Probably is expensive, let's be honest. and it's a whiskey. So I'm not really too sure in distinctions. I know vodka and whiskey are two different ones. Tequila is also its own little thing. The the manufacturing of it is slightly different, I guess. Just how they do it basically is completely different. Trying to think of what else there is on the menu. Like we're gonna just like taste test them all. Could be rum, I suppose, which I've got experience with. I'm not gonna get into, but basically pass out drunk with that. I would be, but I guess it's no different than anything else. If you drink it fast enough, you're going to be bad enough, which I did one time, made the mistake, and I've lived to pay the price for that. But yeah, it's you can fall into some holes with some different drinks, which you don't really want to get into, and that could be bad. Obviously, I don't think stating the obvious there, but yeah. So, actually, it's not letting me stop this, is it? I might just save this as the first recording anyways. Right, I think we've run out of sort of those drinks yet, have we? I'm trying to think now. I'm trying to think of other ones. Yeah, you can get shots, and I'm not sure what it is. Tequila. It might be tequila. It might be something else. Very popular shots in. I'm trying to think what it is. Oh, there's another one. Captain Morgan's. Captain Morgan's is another one, kind of popular because you can have Club Lemon. I've tasted it. It's kind of like toothpaste. It's not the worst one in the world, to be honest. I'd definitely rate it above vodka, and then tequila. I'd say Captain Morgan's would be up there. Yeah, I think it is a type of rum, I think, but yeah, it does pair nicely with other stuff, and yeah, it's basically toothpaste in my opinion. But again, you're not really gonna say any of them are gonna taste that great, to be honest, but they do the job, and I think that's all you can ask for, really. I do know my mates have this one, and I guess they like it or whatever, but probably wouldn't be for me. But again, not really too much of a spirit person, so I don't know why I'm talking about it so much. But hey, there you go, there's that. And look, yeah, I'd say give it a go, but wouldn't be something I'd be doing all the time, so that would be another one there. And yeah, I was trying to think of shots, what you get in a bar, a pub, can't really think of it at the moment. Memory shot, maybe it's just because I've woken up, but yeah. Is there another one to think of? This is hard. Yeah, like obviously there's different styles, types of vodka, whatever. But they'd be main ones, I'd say. The main ones you get would be vodka, Smirnoff, by far. Then I'd say Captain Morgan would be pretty popular as well. Yeah, so we'll move on to another topic, because again, I do want to get into the drug side of things, and I was thinking I'll start off with what I've known and what I have a bit of experience with. And obviously, I've talked about weed a good bit. I've talked about edibles a bit, but there are two. So actually, I've seen that there are a lot of types. You can get your normal sweet edible, which is sort of like the gummies, the you got like your string, like all types of sweets, basically, just based off them, and they seem to be very popular. And then you've got brownies, which are typical, like you make it yourself or whatever, with the weed. And then you've got other stuff which I've seen popping up recently, which I find very interesting. You have the likes of the biscuits, Oreos, that sort of thing. May have got some biscuits, but you've got the likes of canna syrup, which I just heard of recently, which is seemingly quite interesting, which is a little canister, or a little bottle, not a bottle, yeah, a little can, literally, probably about 330 mils, probably less actually. And what you do is you mix it in with like a big bottle of, say, Sprite, and then put it into a cup with ice, and I guess that's to mask the taste a little bit, because I don't know how that would taste. Obviously, it's just thick syrup that is THC in it, so it's very interesting to see what they're doing nowadays. So that seems like an even more, weed is very obvious, you're doing it or whatever. Edibles, not so obvious, but again, not the most pretty, like, what's the word, under wraps thing, you're doing it, and pretty low key. And then you got the likes of the what am I saying? this canister, which is a drink from a bottle, so it's crazy. I don't know if you can mix that with alcohol. I think that just tastes absolutely pretty rank. Probably do you over, but I was just thinking that you probably could mix it with anything you want. So that's obviously something I was thinking of doing, but look, I know personally does it, and sure, look, we'll see. The story is maybe one of these days, who knows. So yeah, that's the story with that. Yeah, that's an interesting little thing I've seen pop up. Yeah, and I used to watch a lot of YouTubers talking about drugs and stuff and all, like acid and all. I do know somebody did acid, and that was a weird experience. So seeing someone else do it, because it's definitely very turns you into someone else, and I think you start becoming another character. And he had his alter egos and all. And it was a very odd experience, and I think you do have to be under wraps doing that. I'm just gonna put the little the warning on this to saying, like, I'm not an expert on this, and I really don't want to be the person to be like, oh, I know what I'm doing or whatever. But yourself. But yeah, it would be a weird one to do. Yeah, I know someone else who can do this, but yeah, don't know if I'd ever do it, to be honest. It's not something I'm like tempted to do at the moment, but maybe in the future, I don't know. Again, like all these things, but you see other people do it, and you're like, alcohol. Like, if no one drank alcohol, it would be less of a what's the word? A vice for people, and even a wanting to do it. But obviously, everyone does it. A lot of people do it. I'm not saying everyone does it, but a lot of people do it. It makes it more attractive. So obviously, if I see lots of my mates doing it, it would be slightly more of an option for me to do. But yeah, not saying peer pressure or anything, but yeah, that could happen. That situation could happen where it's like, when people are doing it, you do it. And then there's also, yeah, so I got into that acid. Well, I didn't get into acid, but like, I seen someone else do it. So it's very interesting because obviously, already, I don't know too much about this, so don't take my word for it, but from what I've heard, it's like a very long set on for like hours. And obviously, I'm not condoning you doing this, just saying these are my thoughts and my experiences, and it should not be taken as word. You should listen to scientists, you should listen to other people, official, reports or whatever. But yeah, and also you check the drugs for purity. But yeah, one of those things where basically I would say, it's just what I was thinking. It's one of those things I'm gonna say over and over again. But it can be a good experience, it can be a bad experience, and I've seen that it could be a mixed experience. Weird stuff happens, you can become a different person, different character, think you're someone else, what's going on. So you need to ground yourself a little bit and have someone there to be like, you're doing good or whatever. So that's what they call a trip sitter. So that'll be something that I think usually people have. And also what's the word? Yeah, it's a long event. It could take 12 hours. It could be, I don't know, 3 or 4 hour peak, and then a come down for the rest of the day. So it's one of those things where you do set aside a full day for it. Who did it? Was the Misfits podcast, and they actually, it's a really good podcast where they actually talk about it. It's very insightful and actually quite interesting, because it's very, what's the word, retro. A lot of the experience is manic, and then the rest of it is very insightful, retrospective sort of experience, where they like sort of going over what's happened in their lives and stuff. And I really think it does take a different perspective, and that could be some of the advantage of doing any sort of drug, seeing things from a different perspective, looking at it and saying, okay, this is how it is, I guess. And yeah, it can be quite interesting. So yeah, that's a thing. So quite interesting. And yeah, there's obviously scarier ones, like, salvia in the psychedelics family, which is quite scary because it's 5 or 10 minutes, but it feels like an eternity for some people, and it can be quite a negative experience. It can be quite a very weird experience where you become something else, you become inanimate or whatever. And I've heard very bad stuff about this, so I wouldn't be the type of person to ever do this. This sounds horrible. Watch videos, put you well off it. Yeah, I'm sure I've heard people say they like this, but it's very far and few between, I think, and most of the time it's not great. What other ones I've heard of, thinking of, not taking any of these, but the likes of, say, I don't know, there's a lot out there, you know, and yeah, quite interesting. But yeah, so there's a lot out there. Covered them ones. You know, there's ecstasy. I know I've said it on someone who done this. It's weird because actually I know a lot of people who've done a lot of these things. This is a weird one. Very friendly drug. You know, you can go with people, say hello. You're talking to people a lot. Weird eyes on you. Sometimes I've seen, and honestly, I don't know too much about it. You know, it can be dangerous. If you say overhydrate or whatever. So it wouldn't be one I mess with just for that reason. It's general it can be quite dangerous to you in certain circumstances. Obviously, I know a lot of people can do it safely, but when you're under the influence, you really want someone watching you, and I don't think that really happens because it's usually a night out drug, so that even makes it even worse because you're already whatever tipsy or whatever drunk. So honestly, bit of a weird one. But yeah, there's things like mushrooms which I've seen. I know somebody does it. I haven't seen them do it, but I know there's someone do it, and it would be in the same family as, say, psychedelics, so it'd be similar to acid, I'm guessing. Don't take my word for it, but yeah, that can be an interesting one because you start seeing little visuals, little flickers of stuff. So it can be quite a what's the word? Quite a interesting experience, and I know that there has been Misfits have also done this, but they haven't really talked about too much. But again, they did kind of get into the experience. But again, Fitz, I believe he's done it twice or 3 times maybe, and actually Swagger did it, but he threw up. But yeah, the first one was basically just him throwing up, and it was an interesting experience. The second one, Fitz said it was great because you got to hear about, you know, really what the experience was really like for him, and I think he found it very insightful and just very good. So it's good to hear good experiences because a lot of times we do hear the bad ones, and I guess they're interesting and all, but it's good to hear good experiences with the drugs as well. So it's an interesting one. I don't know whether I'll be trying it again. That seems like a dodgy area to get into. Something with mushrooms, you know, something you can poison yourself with the wrong ones. But I guess, you know, if they're tested, they're good, you know, the reliable person doing it, you know, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to do, to be honest. And I think you'd start small because you could throw up badly on these things. They could go down bad with you, you know. So it's definitely a different experience as well, like the other ones. And you know, it's out there, experiences are out there for you to have. But yeah, I don't know, like, of all the things you could do, it's one you could do. But yeah, I keep saying yeah, but look, there's a lot of choice out there. Anyways, on to the next one. That's the main psychedelics. There is other ones, like, you know, more serious ones, you know. There's cocaine, you know. I actually do know people who've done this, but again, don't recommend it, obviously, for obvious reasons. Bad for your health, dangerous, quite illegal, quite, what's the word? You know, obviously very, you know, policed on, unlike weed, which is sort of less policed on nowadays, with Ireland kind of relaxing its possession rules. But yeah, cocaine still, you know, it's cocaine. It's not the most dangerous thing in the world, but it can be quite dangerous. So it's a serious player in the drug market as well, obviously. So that's why it's ranked so highly on the danger market. And that's easily where most of the controversy is. Obviously, the take of the drug, you know, fair enough. It can be handled safety a lot of time, but a lot of the time, you know, it's used, you know, by like functioning people who do jobs and have most of the time, you know, to take it carefully or whatever. But obviously it can be still bad for you. But a lot of, you know, the drug game is where a lot of the danger, a lot of the controversy, a lot of the main talking points come from, because it's such a big, you know, expensive commodity, and therefore there's a lot of money in it, therefore there's a lot of people dealing. So from that perspective, it would be something I definitely wouldn't be interested in, because just the likelihood of that you'll get caught up in something like this, you know, it's not really very pleasing, obviously, to be even knowing you're part of that game. So for that reason, I definitely wouldn't do it, even on top of all the health problems with it. So even if the opportunity arose, I probably would say no. I'd probably say, you know, stay away from me, don't do that. And whether it's a gateway or not, it's just, for me, it doesn't seem like a great thing to be doing. Right. There's other ones, getting number heavy ones, heroin. Never heard of anyone doing it. I'm sure people do it. I'm sure it's out there. Obviously, it's being obviously it's causing a lot of deaths, whatever. Scary one. So it's just extremely easy to overdose because of I believe to do the tolerances on it. I believe. Obviously, I've seen Breaking Bad. That's my experience with it. Like people talking about how it's nearly ruined their lives, and nearly the weaning off it is a very horrible experience because it's like your brain is in great pain or whatever, and that's amazingly horrible to hear about. But then you got the likes of I'm saying over again. No, but there is like the likes of, say, other drugs that are trying to wean people off the heroin, but they're also as addictive, benzodones and all this sort of thing. And there's clinics and there's drug rehabs. If you go around Dublin, you can see this stuff happen, and it's quite eye-opening in a way, and can be quite scary. So it's obviously an area that it's very well known how bad these things are, which I think is good. And I think obviously most people aren't really tempted to do them, but it's very much like a very depressing but scary place to be if you're on these things and you're trying to get off, and it's nearly as hard to get off. And you can fall into a cycle pretty easily on these things. It's quick, it's instant. It could be a couple of days and you're hooked, and I think most people do get hooked on these drugs, and it's very bad. Yeah, obviously I think it's important to make a distinction between hard drugs, soft drugs, and stuff that will definitely harm you and stuff that probably won't. Weed will be put, I'd say, soft. Obviously it can harm you in your life, but the direct harm of dying or whatever, I think is very low, obviously, with weed compared to other stuff. And hard drugs, obviously heroin, that's going to harm you very badly. So that's on the two ends of the spectrum nearly. So it's really weird to put them in the same category as drugs, because they're so different. Obviously alcohol being one of the harder ones, probably in the middle of the spectrum, and the likes of cocaine would be higher up, acid would probably be lower down. But obviously these can bring on mental effects that should not be underwhelmed, along with the main health effects that can actually harm your body. There's obviously mental stuff as well that should be considered, like schizophrenia, from such thing as you can get it from weed, you can get it from brought on by other drugs, psychedelics mainly. And then there's obviously the depression and other stuff you get a lot from the downers, like the heroin. There's obviously meth, which is, I believe, a stimulant, which I used to think was a downer, but I think it's a stimulant. That sort of keeps you going like cocaine, but it's a lot more of a long effect than a cocaine would be. But yeah, that's definitely one obviously wouldn't be doing. There's been enough stuff out there on the internet with people with their bad teeth and their bad body, and basically their lifestyle is completely crumbling because of this drug. And yeah, it's just obviously horrible anyways. There's the meth heads and stuff like that. So popular in America, that's where I've mainly heard it. A lot less so in Ireland, weirdly enough. Maybe that's just my ignorance, but I always seem to associate with America with Breaking Bad, obviously, and just sort of that new wave of drugs which sort of went after the crack cocaine and the stuff like that, which was in the past. Crack cocaine is still a big deal because it's cheap prices, whatever. But again, my knowledge in crack cocaine is quite limited. I know it's similar to cocaine, but it's in a crystallized form, I believe. So it seems similar to meth, but obviously cocaine, crack cocaine, I know it's different because it's only lasts a tiny bit compared to meth. Also, meth is, I believe, I don't know, I think there's a difference there. Obviously synthetic compared to the cocaine being, authentic, real thing, which probably adds to its price. But yeah, it's crazy to think that scientists actually find out about, I suppose meth was different, but so it was found out by scientists who took it and then experienced the hallucinogenic effects of it. So it's just weird to think about them. I find a lot of drugs just interesting to hear about, not from I want to take them, but just from the whole, how this affects the body and all that sort of thing is really interesting to me. I've covered the main bases there, the main uppers, the main downers, the main psychedelics, obviously weed. Alcohol, obviously, I've touched on a good bit. Alcohol is what it is, very harmful. I guess it's not really, it's touched to death on, like, oh, you could die or whatever, alcoholic poisoning. I've heard of bad things people, ingest it in different ways to increase basically the alcohol in their bloodstream, which is quite dangerous because obviously when you drink beer, it's a lot easier for your body to maintain it because you can just puke it out. But if you're saying taking something so concentrated like a spirit or whatever, it's actually a lot easier, harder to puke all that out because it's your bloodstream. It's in your bloodstream, and it's very dangerous. And I think I heard someone say, Swagger say, don't quote me this, but look, you actually have to remove blood from you or whatever, and it's very difficult to do. So that's why the danger increases, obviously, with high percentage stuff. So my thing would probably be to stick to lower percentage stuff. It's just dodgy doing high percentage stuff, and I think it could harm you very badly. So yeah, and obviously everyone has stories of people getting messed up on drunk and bad drunk on drink. So I've always had that conversation with myself in my head, like, is it worth doing? Is it really worth drinking? Because you're getting a few hours of high, and then suddenly it's gone. You're just trying to chase that high, and it's just a dodgy because your body feels worse and worse the more you try to chase it. So I don't know. It'd be interesting to hear what other people say about it, but yeah, it's just a hard one to really gauge because I know people who don't do it. It's if you don't do improve your lifestyle, you could have a better time. I do believe that. But yeah, I don't know. It's something about everyone doing it. It's just what's the word? It's the subconscious thing where you see everyone else do it, you have to do it. You know what I mean? And yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, I don't think I feel too many major ones I missed out on. Obviously there's X's, there's Xannies. I don't really know much about them. I know someone who did the ADHD one. I can't remember what it's called, but there are certain ones out there like that are sort of also stimulants. Or not, maybe not stimulants. They act on as stimulants if you don't have ADHD or whatever. But if you do, they actually do the opposite, and they take away the ADHD and make you focus. So, they're extremely interesting drugs because they can, really focus your mind. They being that sort of pill prescribed by a pharmacist sort of type of drug. But obviously they can mess you up pretty badly. Take too much, obviously, you can overdose. And then there's the likes of, just, being messed up on these drugs. You could just go badly for you. Remember the show Skins, which is actually really good, British show, where they do actually quite often talk about drugs and pills and stuff like that at parties, and it's quite true to life, I guess. People do pills. I've never seen it before, but certain people maybe do take these, and it can end badly because a pill is such a small, really, it's just a small thing. It's unlike alcohol, which is like this big drink, it's very in your face. The pills are just there, and you take them and whatever. So yeah, scary place to be honest. But a lot of, obviously, America mainly, a lot of this is recommended, and just it's crazy how big it is over there. Like alcohol here, I wouldn't go to say with stretch as that, but you know what I mean. Like, it's very common. It's very you just wouldn't see it as much in Ireland with all the amount of pills and stuff like that. And yeah, it can be quite scary. It can be quite dangerous, obviously, and it's a big deal. So I think that's enough of me talking about that drugs drink. I kind of want to lighten the subject because it always gets to a dark place when you get into sort of the heavier drugs, because it's just kind of crazy to think about. But yeah, sorry, my nose gets stuffed badly. You got the likes of, drink drugs, but I'm going to move on to talk about sports here for a minute, because the season is over for football. West Ham finished 6th, which is really good. That gives us Europa League competition next year, so I'm really happy about that. I think I'm really happy with the season. Obviously over the moon that we did well. Obviously after last year, expectations were high before the season prior, or before last season, let's say. But obviously things didn't go well, and we managed to escape. Obviously at the end of the year, Moyes is taking charge through the lockdown, has really changed the whole perspective on the team. And when obviously all the sack the board chance still kind of there, but obviously that's died down big time. But yeah, this season has been really great. Just so many scorers and so many assisters. It's really been a full team effort, because you see, Souček get 10 goals, Antonio get 10 goals. I think Bowen got about 7. I think Snodgrass got about 3. Haller got 5. He's now left. Crazy to think Haller had some great goals again this season. The bicycle kick, namely, and his long range shot. And then you got the likes of Snodgrass, who again has also left. He also scored a great goal. A real long range effort. Again, typical Snodgrass across the goal. So he's supplies a great memories for us. And it's easy to forget about those guys, but those guys were the early catalyst in a way. For success. And then we also had the likes of Bowen, has scored some great slotting goals. 4 hours, 2 assists. Antonio has had a great season, obviously, like last year, 20 goals and whatever. How many games, just really good clinical guy. And then, Souček, who scored some pretty straightforward goals, but like they've helped us big time, He's put away chances we wouldn't usually put away. And then there's Benrahma, who's supplied at least 5 assists this season, really good. Same with Cresswell, who I guess has kind of been less talked about towards the end of the season, but he's done great stuff, really just supplying assists left and right. Kufal's done the same thing. Fabianski's been solid in goals, as we know. Ogbonna, a really solid defender, out for a little bit, but most of the time he was there. Balbuena again, the same thing, even though I think Balbuena might leave, which is kind of sad. Then there's there is another defender. Diop hasn't really played too much. He scored 1 goal, but hasn't played too much. Defender. We've been lucky, I think, with injuries. I know some people said, a few players got injured. Yeah, Antonio Rice and Cresswell did get injured for a few weeks, but most of the time, that main squad that we've been using has stayed the same. And I think our squad's been quite small. So I'm interested to see what happens if a few long-term injuries took place, because we really would need to be strengthening our squad, especially with Europa League football. That means a guaranteed 4 or 6 games coming up. So we need the squad depth, which I don't think we have at the moment. So yeah, it's an interesting time to think. Who's the player of the season? It's probably been Antonio. I know people are saying Rice, people are saying whatever. Look, Antonio's a game changer. He is. I guess Lingard obviously done great this season. I think he just came on too late. And again, last couple of games, I don't know what happened to him, but he just fell off a cliff for some reason. I don't know why. He just stopped playing, and I don't know why the hell it was. It's just so weird, because Lingard was playing well against teams like, I guess Arsenal or whatever, Leicester, top teams, and then other teams lower down. He just couldn't play against. I don't know what happened. He burned out a little bit, but he did score a few goals. So fair play to him. I feel like I'm missing somebody, but yeah, they're the main ones anyways. I'm really happy with this team, and long may it continue. So obviously, going into the new year, I think we need a few positions strengthened. Maybe striker, we never really strengthened that position. They're saying Kral, he's a young lad. I don't know if he'll be up to scratch. At least he'll be a Czech player that will help, obviously, his abilities with Kufal and Souček. And obviously, something that I think Moyes has shown that has been emphasised in the team is teamwork, and how the chemistry on the team. Never really been emphasised before, because obviously with like Pellegrini we've had a lot of talent, but there's never been the chemistry. I think now we're finally saying, you don't need the top talent, you need the chemistry, and it would all work as a team. Because our team doesn't really have that top player. It's more like a lot of good players and some okay players that work well together, that boost each other's performances. So I'll be interested to see. I think I'm backing whoever he takes. Obviously, we haven't really seen too many flops under Moyes. We really haven't. Compared to Pellegrini, where there's been flops left and right. Even with Moyes, he's taken players from Pellegrini, from Bilic. I don't think from Bilic, who have performed well. So it's kind of mad. Even Noble has stepped up. So there you go. Hopefully a striker. Hopefully a couple more defenders, possibly. Midfielders. I'd actually just strengthen everywhere. Would I take Anderson back? I think I would. Obviously, earlier on the season, when we weren't in the Europa League, I'd say sell Anderson, we need the money. But at this stage, I don't know. If we were short for money, sure, sell Anderson. But you need to replace someone. You need to actually probably add on players rather than subtract players or stay the same. So it's a tough call to make. I think all the best with obviously the lads making the right decisions. It's a pity that obviously Alan Irvine is gone now, as his sort of Moyes' assistant. But again, we'll hopefully get someone in who can help out and have an impact. Maybe a former West Ham player, I don't know. But hey, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I always say that. But so yeah, this podcast has been a little bit over the place. Let's get into Denver, because Denver just took a 2-1 lead on the Portland. It was a very comfortable game, in my opinion. I know there was points where it was like, oh, Portland could take it. But for, I would say, about 80% of the game, Denver were in control and were winning. And I always felt we had such good three-pointing. It was like when we usually play against Utah, their sort of three-point ability, it was like we were just not stopping with the threes. And our percentage was so good there. Really good shout out to obviously Austin Rivers, who's getting the start now, which is kind of crazy because you would think, Monte would be starting on the team, but no, Austin Rivers is starting alongside Campazzo, and it seemed to work out pretty well because they're fast, they're playing well against this Portland team anyways. I know how it would work against such a big team like LA, possibly the next round if we get there. But it just seems to be working well against Portland. They seem to be leaving lots of gaps on the 3-point line, so we were just bombing from there. And yeah, we just seem to play really well against this team. I don't know why. We're a very good matchup with them. Unlike Utah, which is a bit more of a struggle for us, Portland seems to be okay. Even with missing Jamal Murray, I feel kind of confident now that we can probably get the job done. I was actually thinking before the series started, I think Portland are probably going to win this game 7. I knew it was going to be tight the whole way. But yeah, I think we were very comfy in this game. And we're playing, don't forget, we're playing in Portland. But obviously, don't get your hopes up too much. We've been in lots of positions where we've been losing and winning. So the same thing could happen in Portland. They could get the job done and they could win. You just don't know. It's too early on in the series to say. Obviously, in this position, 75% chance, 75% of the time, we do, teams in this position do win. But obviously, you want to be very wary, very careful. I say if we win the next game, it's probably over, but I think Portland will probably win it. Even, I know, it's always the thing in my back of my mind, Portland, they have Dame, but Dame didn't, don't forget, he played well today. He did play well. But again, a few more points from Dame and they could win it. His clutch performances, a lot of his threes weren't dropping. So if you reverse that and he made some of them, they could have, definitely won it. And yeah, I haven't been too watching of Denver this season, just from a distance really, less than my usual, which is sort of like big diehard watching every game. But I must say, Denver have kind of responded very well to the injury of Murray. Obviously, before Murray, the start of the season was kind of rough. Then we, got strengthened. Even though through injuries, we've always maintained a good. We've only nearly played better with injuries, and it's weird to say because we've just focused down. Jokic has taken the reins. Really, he doesn't need anyone to rely on now. And then also you have the thing with, lots of key bench players stepping up, like Marcus Howard, like Austin Rivers, Campazzo, Monte Morris, and then also the likes of Aaron Gordon to an extent. I don't know if he's been too impressive lately, but then you could likes of MPJ becoming in that 6-man conversation, not 6-man, even most improved conversation. Naturally, he had to take the step up, and as a young age, very impressive. And then you also have people like Jokic doing very well, and then you have other players. But there are other players there that fair play. You just you took the step up and it needed to happen, and it's really progressed our season. And it'll mean next year when we have Murray back, we have other players who have experience now that they would have had otherwise if Murray had taken their minutes. So I'm kind of weirdly a blessing in disguise, because it means next year will be so tough and will be so hard to beat. Barring other injuries. Jokic was very clutch in this game again as well. We were up by 3. We had free throws. We missed one, I believe, and then obviously we missed the second one, and Jokic got the rebound, scored, which means we won the game. Like, we couldn't have lost there at that point. So really happy to see stuff like that. Honestly, just like top tier performance, and I'm really happy with that sort of performance. Playing well, really playing well, and standing up to his opposition. So yeah, I do think I have more confidence now than I would have before the game. But basketball's a weird thing. Like, I've lost confidence in the past, especially against Utah. I was thinking like, oh my god, that was the worst performance ever. But it really is just a make or break game, with certain shots being like changing your whole perspective on the team. So I'm gonna be honest, guys. I think I think we can do it. I think we win it in 7. I've said before this, Portland will win it in 7 by maybe. I think we can win it in 7. I think it might be a close one. Another 5 game turnaround, 5 game winner by winning by 5. I think maybe there'll be a couple of blowouts, obviously, but it doesn't really seem like that. It seems like all the games will be within 10 points. So that's crazy. Obviously, the last time we played Portland, same thing happened. Really, I thought we were going to win though in Game 7, and we didn't. So sometimes basketball's a weird thing. You have no confidence, you start playing well. It's almost like the pressure's off a little bit when teams are not in position where they're strong. And yeah, looking at the rest of the NBA, you have a lot of other stuff going on here, but Lakers up 2-1. Milwaukee taking a commanding 3-0 lead. Look, the pressure's been off Milwaukee because the pressure's been off them because less of the spotlight has been on them compared to, say, Philadelphia, because obviously there wasn't much hope in Bucks since last year. So I think they're starting to play well. Only is the Heat, though. The Heat have been quite disappointing this year, obviously. And look, there was a lot of pressure on them, so maybe that's affected them a little bit. And then you have the likes of, Brooklyn, who look playing well. They're up 2-0 or 2-1 or whatever, commanding against the Celtics. Like, it doesn't look like they're going to stop. And then you have the likes of Knicks, that's a feel-good story of the playoffs so far. It's, last year we had Miami, now we have the Knicks, who have got their first playoff win since 2013, I believe. And the streets were buzzing. So that rarely happens in basketball. You get that much buzz after one game. So it almost felt like they were a 7-game series. Or some teams' championship parades are not as good as this celebration. So fair play to the Knicks. I actually really want to see them do well. Even though I do like the Hawks, I do like Trae Young. It's just so interesting to see these Knicks underdogs do well. And Knicks do get a lot of hate, but hey, I think they're just so fun to see the crowd more than anything. And the players just always putting in all their effort, Obviously, Utah playing comfortably. I think they're probably going to get the job done. Phoenix played really well, but obviously losing the Lakers. Still a competitive series enough, although they did sort of get crushed in the last game. Philadelphia, kind of forget who they're playing, but I think they're getting the job done. Philadelphia also looking well. And yeah, a lot of teams up there, obviously in the conversation. Overall, still saying Brooklyn. People are saying Milwaukee are up there. I don't know about that. I'd say Philadelphia more a chance. I'd say top 5 would probably be, I'd say, Brooklyn, Lakers, Philadelphia. And it's a tough call to say the other two. I wouldn't say Denver at the moment. Not quite yet. I'd probably opt for maybe... Yeah, I'd probably say the Bucks number 4. And number 5, I'd probably opt for... It's between Utah and Phoenix, and to be honest, I like how Phoenix are playing, to be honest, but they've kind of been all over the shop a little bit. Sometimes injuries, Booker getting ejected. They're still a bit young for some of the players, but I don't know. Something about Phoenix saying, they really want to go for it. So I say Phoenix number 5. Again, Utah, you could make an argument for, obviously, they've had such an impressive regular season. So you 100% could say, I think they're going to do well. Yeah, but Celtics really haven't done too much, and I'm kind of disappointed a little bit in the playoff postseason. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, looking at the football world, obviously Man City taking on Chelsea tomorrow night, Saturday at 8 o'clock. Yeah, I'd say there's always a little feeling in the back of my head, Chelsea might do it, they might do it because they might edge it. They just know how to close out games, and obviously it's going to be probably a tight, boring game. But City are City, and it's impossible to overlook City, so I'm going to say City, even though that's a good take to say, Chelsea will do it. No, I do think City will win it, probably about 2-1 for the reason that's the name that is sticking in my head. Maybe late goals, you know what I mean? Looking at the other game, we had United lose to Villarreal, which is a historic one because that's Villarreal's first major trophy. And it was great to see, Alberto Moreno, we never walk alone. Obviously, Liverpool former player, so it's kind of a funny one to see. Very good penalties actually made up for quite a boring game, which we had 2 sort of iffy goals, go in, sort of out of nowhere goals. Actually, Villarreal's goal was quite good. United hit one as well from Cavani, but look, it was a very poor performance by United, and you can't overlook that. In the penalties, basically every penalty was going in, slotting home. I think there were actually some quality penalties there, and obviously, you know what? Fair play to Villarreal because they stuck it out and they kept going, and their goalie slotted away a goal, and that means down to him, his goal was saved, a nice save from the goalie. So I know obviously De Gea getting a lot of stick. Look, he missed a penalty. Are we really gonna go after him like that? Because a lot of these penalties were world class, I think. So honestly, still great victory for Villarreal. Now obviously put them in the Champions League place, which is great because you want to see a team like Villarreal, who used to be in the semis of the Champions League, who haven't really been obviously too good with success, but they have Emery at the helm, and Emery has obviously been. He's won the Europa League 5 times, which is crazy. So he is basically the king of the Europa League, and that's not to say with Sevilla and all. So I just think the power to him, he's inspirational in that regard, and I think that's really good for him to be like, I am. I'm a great manager and I can take the step to the Champions League. So I'll be really interested to see how he does. Obviously, Champions League is such an open void at the moment. Teams come from anywhere to try and grab that trophy because there's no clear cut winner. Obviously, City, still questions around them. Liverpool, questions around them. Bayern, questions around them. Barca, obviously the top teams like Barca, Real may get punished for the Super League. Will they get revoked from the Champions League? I don't know. It's really interesting to see. Those spots might get taken away, and then Juve as well. And then you might see some other teams pop up that otherwise wouldn't be there. So it's very much no domination from Real at this point. So it's very interesting because it's a lot less predictable and it's a lot more interesting. Such as the Premier League. But still, City do well, obviously. It's just the money at the end of the day that always brings consistency eventually. So, whether it takes a couple of years or, with City taking a lot of years. But again, fair play to Aguero, though, for, signing off his career with City pretty much, apart from this last game. It's going to be emotional. Obviously, Aguero has been pretty much this... He's up there with Kane, obviously, for this sort of generation's sort of main player in the Premier League. Obviously, the last 10 years, he's pretty much dominated a good deal, along with Kane. But he's in silverware to back it up. So I would really say he's probably been the main player the last 10 years. And, before that, there's obviously been the Rooneys, the Gerrards, and then looking at Beckham's Skulls, going back Lampard, and then going back in the 90s, you have the likes of Cole, York, etc. So he's really been as one of those sort of marquee players, and obviously he's still playing, so he can't be in the Hall of Fame yet, but he will be in the Hall of Fame, and we will see that happen. That's pretty much my look at football. Football, basketball, etc. The main sort of stories are happening. Obviously, Eurovision happened recently, which that's been interesting. We had the likes of, apparently, there's always controversy. There's always some weird news story with the Eurovision. It's one of those weird things. And obviously, the winner, Italy, one of the lads was maybe caught doing drugs, but apparently he wasn't. He's like, I'll do a drug test. So apparently he's not doing drugs, but it looked like he was doing cocaine or something. I don't know. It's one of those weird things, but Eurovision is always funny to hear stuff like this. It's usually lighthearted, but this is a weird one to hear about. It's just funny stuff like this that just, makes Eurovision funny and worthwhile. Look, that's been the episode. It's been a bit messy. I've been lying in bed, so the audio is going to be really bad on my phone. It can't get much better than that, can it? Anyways, I'll talk to you guys later, and hopefully you enjoyed the episode. Good luck.